That's what I'm using as the intro right there. So fuck yes, welcome to After the Hype. Me, your host, is always Brian Joseph. With me, as always, is Jonathan Hardesty.
Oh, those sounds, though.
Ryan James. And Chewie Darso.
Ruining childhood with sick jokes since forever.
Since childhood.
Forever. Special guest today, Matt Lantrip. Hi.
Hello, and if you chew around me, I will murder you.
Little pre-show wonderfulness of listening to each other eat into microphones. Hooray.
I'm really good at it.
Stop it.
I'm having a visceral reaction.
I can make my mouth sound real wet, everybody.
That's for the wrong podcast.
That's for the sex line.
I'll make it so dry for you.
No. Stop doing that. It's not a pancake.
It's gonna
flatten it out.
It's gonna be like sand.
Like sand.
Anyhow.
Now let's go watch Kimmy Schmidt.
Yeah, now let's go watch the Power Rangers. Okay, so really quick before we get started with one of my absolute favorite things of all time. I'm so excited about today's episode. We're going to let Matt do a little plug section. Matt, do you want to talk about your show?
Sure. Brian has been on it and talking about this topic that we're talking about today, which is exactly why I'm here, because he's like, you haven't had enough of this yet.
I haven't forced you to experience Power Rangers enough yet.
Exactly. So, yeah, I do a podcast called But That's Just My Opinion. I actually recently added a co-host, David Navarro. He's been on the episode a couple episodes. And honestly, I just needed someone to come in and help me book other guests and fill time for when I couldn't get people.
Notice there's 4 people around this table. I had the same problem.
Yeah, exactly. I looked at that and I was like, oh, that's why.
Yep.
So it's been a lot easier now. We've actually been pumping out episodes, and I'm not going to miss a week anymore, even when I go on vacation. So it's been real nice, just either me and him, or we have a guest come in. It's been real fun. So everyone, go check it out. Follow us on Twitter at BTJMOPod, Facebook.com/BTJMOPod, and go listen to Brian's episode after this one if you want to hear just him talk about it and me just go, but what about the movie? And that's why I'm here, because we didn't get to talk about it.
That's
that
true.
much.
I wanted to talk about the show, man.
Yeah,
it's a good show.
Dude,
all 23 years of it.
I get it.
But beyond all that, of him just pumping himself up, I've listened to many episodes, and it is a very good show. I actually highly recommend it.
Well, thank you very much.
I've recommended it to people other than just the person who runs it. But it's fun because you have a show that really spans a metric fuck ton of topics.
Yeah, the whole point of it is me and my co-host, unless it's just us, we do not pick the topic. Yeah. It's the guest coming in. Like, there's an episode coming up in the future where we're talking to a friend of ours who graduated with a degree in linguistics, and we talk about Arrival, but only the linguistics aspects.
Oh, that's interesting.
Not me and him.
That would be really interesting.
Yeah, so we do a review of it in the beginning, like before the actual interview. The entire interview, nothing but linguistics.
That's really interesting. Have you already recorded this one?
Was the movie accurate?
When does that come out?
A couple weeks.
So yeah,
I'll let you know when it comes out.
I'm not sure when this one actually drops because we're doing 2 today. So
yeah, no problem. Yeah, I mean, I'll give you a
cool.
Yeah.
We'll since people listen to this one, we'll promote that one as well.
Yeah, and we just did board game. We just talked about board games recently. I think the one that's probably dropping, it drops same day as this. So anyone listening now, you can go over find the new episode today. I think the one coming out is it's either going to be linguistics or R-rated superhero movies.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. That one, I'd just seen Logan. I was like, let's just go through the list.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot.
There's more than you think.
Yeah.
All right, so let's do a where have you been doing? I can go first. I just finished Gears of War 4.
Nice.
And I can tell you this much. If you've played any of the Gears of War games and you've enjoyed them, you're going to enjoy this one until the ending. And then the ending, you'll go, what the fuck? Because that's what I sure did. Because that's about 7 hours into it, and then it just ends. And not like, oh, that seems like a logical ending point. Or like if you get like a surprise ending, it's like, oh, that's a good cliffhanger. It really just kind of feels like, oh, fuck, how much money do we have? Enough to all drive like a fucking Bentley out of here? Great, let's stop making the game immediately. Because it just fucking like black screen, just boom, end. It's like, what the mother son of a...
So I was checking out some new Netflix comedy specials, including Amy Schumer's. Hers was pretty good, but I actually liked Mike Birbiglia's better. His came out a couple weeks earlier.
I love
I love
He was
name.
really good,
Amazing.
and his new special is really good.
I would
Is
like
this
to
just
say
a
Mike Birbiglia whenever I want to.
Is this one just a stand-up
Birbiglia.
special,
Yeah.
or is it... Okay.
Yep. They're both just an hour stand-up.
I love his method of comedy.
Me too. Yeah.
Just long story.
Long story.
Yeah.
The bit about
I'm
him.
just thinking about penises again.
Stop. What?
Why?
I'm the one who gets shamed for my comments, and she's like,
You
"Oh, I'm
just
just thinking
really-
about penises again."
You really like his method and his length. And
Jesus Christ.
No, the length was not said.
You know, it's not the size
what
of the
did you
part,
say?
all right?
Something that sounded like that.
John, what about you? What penis have you been doing?
Dudes love dicks.
Dudes love dicks.
Not as
I
much
just
as
love my own.
not as much as you would think. I've been listening to podcasts, and
Cool.
I'm still
Yep.
listening to Waypoint Radio,
Mhm.
my favorite gaming podcast of all time.
Nice. Matt, what about you?
Well, this is going to sound real dumb, but so last year I was planning a wedding, so therefore I got to do nothing.
Right. That's how weddings go.
Exactly. And then
You
after
did things.
Sure.
But
You
so
did.
pretty much I didn't get to go to the movies as much as I wanted to. I maybe saw 2 movies in theaters last year.
I did more than that. She was right.
Yeah. So something for me this year. It started pretty much towards the end of this year with Rogue One, and then so me and my wife have been going out to the movies at least once a month now. And it's actually been really great to do that again because we
Yeah.
used to do it almost weekly.
Yeah,
But now we're
still
like
do.
focusing, we're finding movies that we both want to see, and we've been going out and seeing a bunch of stuff. So it's actually nice to get out and go see movies outside of my couch again.
Nice.
Awesome.
What's the
Nice.
most recent?
Logan. Logan's the most recent. Before that
Was
was
so good.
Get Out,
Yeah.
Split,
Yeah, you're
Lego
hitting 'em.
Batman.
Out of all those 4 you just said, what would be the number one you'd recommend?
Oh, that's hard.
I know. You just listed some good movies.
Yeah, Lego Batman's definitely at the bottom.
Totally agree.
Thank you.
Like it was decent. Like it starts off
It's fine.
good, and then it just kind of trails
It's
off.
no
fun.
Lego movie?
It's just
Yeah.
a fun movie.
It's
Yeah.
a fun. I think the problem with that movie is there was so much hype after the
Yeah.
original Lego movie. So I mean, I totally get that.
Yeah.
Recommendation wise, I loved Split a lot. Split and Get Out are probably the 2 best movies I've seen this year. I
Yeah.
thought Get Out was absolutely amazing.
Chewie, really quick before we get started on the thing that I want to talk about today. Where have you been doing?
Oh, where have I been doing?
Lots of dicks.
If only.
She had just forgotten about him.
Yay.
I've been rewatching Parks and Rec a little bit.
What's the dickin'?
I love Ben.
What's the dick?
What's the dick with Parks and Rec?
It's just
That's our new shirt.
rewatching some of the episodes with Ben, specifically the character, and just
Adam Scott?
yeah,
Yeah.
revisiting his like love affair with Leslie and
Yeah.
how frustrated he gets at whether or not he can or can't be with her between the 2nd and 3rd seasons.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a beautiful love story. It really is. And it's weird to see a sitcom like that capture such a fun, whimsical, deep desire in a character. And then I love his little quibs about Game of Thrones. Like I'm really enjoying my rewatch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that show aged way more gracefully than its sister, The Office.
Yeah, it did until the very end.
Right.
And then it just completely fell apart.
Yeah,
But
the
up
last
until
season was super forced.
I don't think it completely fell apart. It's just it escaped what it realized that it was petering out, and then it ended it at season 5, which was smart, not what The Office did.
Yeah, it's a good show.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it's time to get started on what is easily the greatest film to come out of the 90s.
The entirety of the 90s?
The entirety of the 90s.
Okay, nothing from Steven Spielberg.
Show.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh my god, can
did
you
Steve
imagine
show?
if Steven Spielberg had directed this?
I don't have to because
He did.
Brian Spicer directed this. And we all love Brian Spicer.
Is that Sean Spicer's brother?
Oh no.
Because it would make a lot of sense.
Did he spell his name with a Y or an I?
He spells it with a Y.
Okay, well,
he spells it
he's
correctly.
Got that
yeah.
going for him.
Yeah. What do you mean he's got that going? He directed the Mighty Morphin Power Ranger movie. He's got a lot of things going for him. Much like last week, or maybe next week, I don't remember which order these are coming out. I did not look up any of the numbers or reviews for this thing because I didn't really think it was important. It didn't.
I could throw them out off the top of my head, actually.
Can you?
Yeah, it cost $15 million, and it made 64 worldwide.
Okay, that sounds. Yeah, that's
For the time.
Yeah.
For the time, it's okay.
So
you
it was
can
a
totally,
success.
It was
Yeah.
success, but you can see not the smashing success they
Right.
want it to be, which is why they didn't get a sequel until Turbo. And then if anybody wants to consider Turbo a Power Rangers movie, you can go fuck yourselves because that movie is garbage. And this is coming from somebody who loves all things Power Rangers. Fuck Turbo.
Garbage.
Garbage movie for garbage people. Glad I got that out of the way nice and early because I had to bring it up at some point.
That's just your opinion.
You can hear that
So-
on the Power Rangers episode of my podcast.
I'm not sure if it's as hard to dump on it in the other podcast as I did here, but I should have.
You were
And-
really worried about what the fanboy reaction was going to be, and then like 14 people listened to that episode.
sounds
They're just
about right,
like,
yeah.
No one wants to. I even like posted on the Power Rangers subreddit. No one went to it.
Don't care.
It happens. Anyhow, so I think it's time for a breakdown. Matt, you ready to go?
Yes.
Okay, so Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie, in 30 seconds. Go, 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 go!
I'm just going to do karate motions because that's about it.
That's the movie. Perfect.
So Ivan Ooze gets unearthed. He's a foe from a long, like 6,000 years ago, and then he destroys Zordon, and all the Power Rangers lose their power, so they go off Earth to get their power back, while Ivan Ooze is overtaking the parents of Angel City, because apparently his ooze doesn't work on children. And then the Power Rangers come back fully with their powers again, and Zordon's revived, and then they have a giant robot battle in the middle of Angel City that destroys a lot of stuff Michael Bay style.
You're out of time. So
Kinda.
you got close, but you didn't
really
get to
close.
the ending.
No.
So at that point, I say that's a full-blown failure. I'm
not good at this.
I don't know how you weren't able to do this movie in 30 seconds. This is the most basic movie in the
I
world.
think I spent 5 seconds doing karate
Yeah,
chops.
yeah,
You
yeah.
and
forgot
now-
to mention how they stole things from Star Wars.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that's part of the plot breakdown. We'll get into that here in a second. But yeah, I think you did waste 5 seconds on karate moves, and that's how you lost it. So either way, I get to make fun of you now, which I'll say that breakdown was as good as Power Rangers Turbo, the movie, which means it's fucking garbage for garbage people.
I don't know why I'm still here. Can the season end already so you can just leave? That's a work joke for only me and him.
Yep, because we are not legally allowed to say what show we work on. Hooray! Okay, so I think we should get started. Now that we've done a breakdown, we kind of know what the movie's about-ish. The thing that we'll do, the same thing we did for the episode we recorded before this, whether or not it comes before or after this one comes out, who knows?
So much editing for yourself.
Yep. Who remembers their first encounter with this movie? Does anybody...
With this movie?
With this movie. Do you remember seeing it in theaters? Did you see it in theaters? I'll go first because clearly I'm the fanboy here. This one, my sister and our childhood friend, we all went to go see it together. And the way that I was able to really convince them to see it was by telling them it was 3D. And I don't remember how that worked
Liar.
or why they believed me.
Was it
But-
the cool red and blue glasses at the time, too?
Yeah, it would have been. But like this was just like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's in 3D too. And they're like, oh, I guess you should go see it at least for 3D.
Oh my god, be karate chopped in 3D for an hour.
I don't think my sister or her friend enjoyed it very much. I know they liked it a little bit. I don't think they hated it by any means. And I was just really grateful that somebody's willing to take me to it because my mom and dad were just like, no. No. And it was one of those things where like, I think I told this to Chewie last night when we were talking about it. I had spent so much of my childhood obsessed with Ninja Turtles that when I kind of aged out of Ninja Turtles a little bit, they're like, all right, so we're done with the stupid child toy thing. And then Power Rangers started, and I'm like, nope, we're still going strong. And like, yeah, we're not, though. Please stop. And then I just never did. But yeah, so I remember seeing it in theaters, and I remember thinking two things. One, what the fuck was that? And two, I don't care, I love it. So, but it is. We'll get into why I had that gut reaction of, what? In a second. John, do you remember your first encounter for it?
Let's see. It was this past week.
How did it make you feel?
I've missed the complete history of Power Rangers. I was aware of it as a kid. I did the Turtles thing. I did the Ghostbusters thing, and then we stopped having cable for like long stretches of time.
This
and
wasn't on cable.
This wasn't on cable.
or TV or good reception. Like we just
Fair.
kind of stopped doing the TV thing for a while.
Nice
Because the
recovery.
CIA was watching you.
Right. But like it's just more like I missed it. It was on. I was aware of it, but I never got to see it. It was more like we can encourage one thing for you, like, and you know, you got your Nintendo, you got your Turtles. What more do you want, kind of thing.
Kind of like what I had,
Yeah, it's.
but I made it work.
Yeah. Whereas, like, I just didn't know enough about it to even know what I was missing. And
Sure.
I had no friends who actually had an interest in it.
Oh, I had no friends either. I had the Power Rangers.
Oh, no friends.
He had friends. You didn't.
Yeah.
This is why he's never seen it.
No. I had no friends either. Let's be real. Real talk. Donnie was my bud. Okay. But no, I just had no experience with it. But
Fair
I've always
enough,
been
yeah.
aware of it. So like to see it now is a very interesting experience.
And as I told your wife, I'm going to make your entire family watch this movie.
Yeah.
At some point or another, it will be my fault. I've already made your wife watch it. Now I've
Yep.
made you watch it. Now I
Yep.
just need to make your daughter watch it.
Mm-hmm.
It will happen. Ryan, do you remember your first encounter with it?
Oh yeah. Let's go way back to 1990, whatever, 4. Little Ryan James. Apparently, my weakness is teams of 4 or 5 fighting people that all come in different colors. Because we had Ninja Turtles right into Power Rangers, and
Yep.
I was obsessed with that
Yeah.
first season.
So good.
I started wearing strictly green because Tommy was my jam. I wanted to be him. I was like,
He's
Mom,
awesome.
I want to grow my hair long. She's like, you're not a hippie.
Grow your hair long and
So-
then shave the sides?
Yeah. So I just got a bunch of green shirts and green clothes and pretended I was the Green Ranger all day. And then loved all of that season where he starts out the bad guy, turns into the good guy, even through really weak story points, losing his abilities and becoming the White Ranger. And then they replaced 3 of the Power Rangers, and I stopped caring. This movie was like the Warcraft movie for me, where if it came out 3 years earlier, I would have cared so much more.
They wanted it.
I know. By the time this movie came out, I didn't give a shit about Adam or Rocky or any of those other new Rangers. Tommy was already had jumped the shark, and I watched it and came out what the fuck? Except I didn't love it. I hated it. And then do you want me to go on? I got more critiques about this movie. We'll get there.
We'll get there.
Everything I hate about it, but I didn't enjoy it.
Matt,
All right. So what year did this come out?
95.
All right. I was 3.
Oh, you're a
You
baby.
youngin'. So old. I am only 25 years old.
Oh, gosh, I had no idea you were so young.
So when did you finally see this? Do you
So
remember? Did I
can't
just make you watch it for the first time?
No. I had seen it before.
Oh yeah, you made the Ivan News jokes before.
Yeah, I mean, I remember growing up as a kid and it was, I can't remember if we had the VHS or if it had just played on HBO at the time or whatever, because my parents were like, oh, kids movie, you put that on. I had the action figures, and that was my main thing with Power Rangers was the little action figures.
The ones that came after the red one.
The bullshit action figure.
I think so.
Because the red one here was the first series that came out, and then wow, these are way too much to produce. We need to make smaller ones.
Yeah, whatever that it was that, and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle ones were the ones I had, the smaller ones. And so those were my toys. Were stuff that and Hot Wheels. Explains why I grew up loving karate and
Karate and cars.
I do like UFC and motorcycles. So
there you go. Fast and the Furious should be right up your alley.
Oh, you have no idea. So yeah, I watched it as a kid. I couldn't tell you how I came to it. I just know it was there. Every once in a while, and I had the toys, and so I watched the show sometimes, but by the time whatever the regular run was done, I was on to something new, and I wasn't old enough to understand when things were coming on and understanding commercials for new things. And
Zeo lost a lot of fans.
Yeah, so I didn't even know that existed until today, because I don't think you even brought that up on when we talked.
I've listened to that episode a couple times just because I like hearing things about Power Rangers. Even if it's just me talking about it, it's I like Power Rangers.
Instead of talking to myself about it.
I didn't know that.
Don't worry about it.
Oh, honey.
Guys, we're really getting to know each other today.
And my sad obsession with Power Rangers.
Oh, no, we all knew that. So, yeah, that's pretty much my introduction. And then rewatching this, because, it's been years.
Yeah.
Maybe almost 20 years since I saw it, since I can remember seeing it.
It's 22 years old.
Oh, boy.
It's a rough rewatch.
Yeah.
Oh,
This is the reason I haven't watched any other Power Rangers since this.
Woof,
This is the last Power Rangers thing I've seen.
rough rewatch.
Mm.
Chewie?
Well, I honestly don't remember if I saw it when I was younger.
Right. That's too bad.
A lot of people, if you get to know me, my brain is kind of unreliable when it comes to memories. It's like I used to do drugs as a child. It's really weird, but I didn't.
You
But
sure
I
about that?
Just dicks and My Little Ponies.
But I know, so this came out in 95. I was 12.
Right.
I was heading right into that age group where even if you did enjoy something, when you were at school, you didn't tell anyone you enjoyed it.
Right.
You just
Right.
said it was stupid, and why would anyone be into that? Oh my god.
That's what I should have done. Damn.
You would have had
Because
friends.
I definitely used to watch the show.
Right.
I definitely
'Cause it's awesome and
enjoyed
everyone should
Power
have.
Rangers, but I didn't continue it past the first time.
Mighty Morphin, yes.
Mighty Morphin. I didn't
On
watch
to
it
Zeo.
past Mighty Morphin. I was always aware of Power Rangers after that, but I never watched it.
This was the end of that, right? This capped the Mighty Morphin
Not
series.
even close.
There's one
No.
more. It was the regular Thunder Megazord. These were the Ninja Megazord. And then
Yeah.
was there another one?
No, these probably were the last ones then. But this wasn't the end of the series. It went for a little bit longer.
Other than the Zords thing.
Yeah.
The first time I remember watching this movie was with you when you took me to a midnight screening.
That sucked so bad.
I actually really enjoyed it. The memory of us going to that is good. Like, I enjoy remembering that. Specifically the Q&A before, it was fun. And I just think this movie is better to watch in a theater because you're way more forgiving when you have to sit down with it. Watching it again in our living room and having to tolerate all the weird total 90s shit
Yeah.
is not as fun. It's way more fun in a theater than it is at home.
I could see you have like a Rocky Horror Picture vibe. When
Yeah,
you're in a theater with a
it's
bunch
so
of
much
people.
more fun to watch it with a big group of people in a theater than it is at home.
They're just throwing toys at the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ryan, to your question, it went for about 6 months after this.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Close to the end, but not quite.
Yeah, it was the final season or whatever.
Yeah. This was the kickoff of the end. I remember me and my friend Danny were really excited because they thought we were going to bring the movie suits into the show, and they never did.
Oh, yeah.
Those movie suits look uncomfortable as fuck.
Are we ready to start on the weirdness of this movie yet?
So here's the thing. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of making this movie really, really quick so people can kind of understand where we're coming from. And then we're going to get into the problem. So
I think for anybody who's really uninformed about Power Rangers, you should start with the whole Japanese to American and using the same stuff.
So
and
yeah,
go on.
if you don't know anything about Power Rangers whatsoever, beyond that there's a new movie coming
Yeah.
out. Super Sentai was a show in Japan, and it was basically the same thing that we have here in Power Rangers. A group of teenagers put on silly costumes, fought big rubber monsters. Saban decided to buy that property and bring it over here and came up with the idea to just shoot American teenagers doing American things and then just splice in the Japanese footage from the original show. So
it's a great success.
So they only had to shoot half episodes,
Yeah.
if that, sometimes even less. And then they basically just created a money-making monster. And it's been going for 24 years now. And now we're all the way up to Super Dino Charge. Or no, that's already done. So now we're on to Ninja Steel. Like, there's so many iterations of Power Rangers, and it just keeps going because we keep doing the same thing. As the show went on, it got a little bit more Americans or New Zealanders or American-speaking people. I'd say English, but it's definitely American.
Right.
In the suits and that sort of stuff. But in the beginning, it was very, very rare for the American cast to ever even put on a Power Ranger suit because they never had to.
And that's it was like the one shot of them with only the helmets off.
Yeah, which they would almost never do because in the Japanese version, the yellow Power Ranger was a man.
Right.
So when you look at them in the suits, suddenly if she has a helmet off, she has boobs, and
Right.
the helmet on, she doesn't. So and that's why she also doesn't have a skirt.
The height difference is
And
definitely different.
there's
Well, there's
a
an
height
air
difference.
component too, because when you have the helmet on, the air. Never mind.
Sure.
I was doing something dumb with that.
But anyway, so that's kind of where it came from. The problem with the movie is that it has different producers than the show. And that's where we'll kind of get into a lot of the problems of the movie as we're talking about today. So some of the characters didn't get transferred over. Some of them are just in the show that didn't make it in the movie. There's characters in the movie that don't exist in the show. The costumes are all fucking wrong. They all have different powers in their suits that didn't exist in the show, but that was just to sell more toys. And the biggest one, because this one ties into the movie coming out now, was the producers did not understand or agree with the fact that when the Power Rangers wear their helmets, you can't see their faces. And it really upset them. So you can look at these old, like, when you're trying to come up with
Storyboards.
Concept art?
concept art.
There
Thank
you
you.
go.
Concept art and costumes, where you'd have masks, like the Power Ranger masks without the mouth plate or the visor plate, so that you'd be able to see the characters in their suits. 'Cause
Thank God that got changed.
yeah, and it looked horrible.
Yeah.
But like the guys who helped with the costumes on both the shows and the movies have been releasing these things throughout the years of like, look at how bad this almost was, and you
Yeah.
hate it now. And the problem is that these same ideas are still existing today, as when you watch the new Power Rangers movie trailer, whenever they're in the Zords, guess what happens? Their helmets come off.
It's just like,
I'm okay with
didn't
that.
we learn
I'm
from
not.
Judge Dredd he needs to wear his helmet the whole time, and then the movie's really good. When it's Stallone and he won't wear it, it sucks.
I agree with that sentiment. I think it is stupid and it doesn't make sense. And hey, when you're in the death machine, why not take your helmet off? What?
Yeah. I mean, it is, honestly, it's something that bothers me in so much adapted source material from comic books, from things where, drawing a helmet or a face mask on a drawn character doesn't fucking matter. But as soon as you put a big name actor in it, they get the idea in their head that they got to show his face more, so they change everything about it.
Well, it's
And
why
honestly, I mean, I know they got problems for being very Iron Man-esque with their suits already, but they should have just done that.
Yeah.
They just do the Iron Man face like in the helmet thing, and then suddenly all the problems are solved. You still see their faces,
nice.
and they're still wearing the helmets the whole time. It's a very easy fix.
They are.
Nope.
When I look at the trailer, it looks like they have shit all around their head.
Maybe.
Well, that's
Except
part
on
of the
their
helmet.
face.
Yeah.
I wonder if that would be
That'd be even
actually some
I
legal
think you're right.
thing, because maybe Disney has such a hold on that shooting style
Oh,
that
that
they
could
do
be.
Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
in, that they literally can't do that face on black with computers.
That could be, yeah.
Well, I mean, they could always just like
'Cause
put
Disney's
the
a
color of the helmet around the outside.
For sure.
Yeah.
There is a lot of
I
creative
mean,
ways
fuck,
to get
they
around
did it in
but
Star Kid. There's a reference for you.
I've never seen that.
Stars the kid from Jurassic Park. He gets an alien super suit that he can walk around in.
How the
Dude,
fuck
I
did I miss that?
Dude,
That sounds amazing.
Dude, I totally remember that movie.
Googling
That movie
that
was
now.
awesome.
I know, right?
That sounds almost as cool as Suburban Commando.
Or as Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie. Let's keep talking about that. So
I just want to talk about Star Kid now. We're changing this podcast. All right, breakdown on Star Kid. 30 seconds.
So let's kind of get into the movie now that we've got a little bit of history on what the Power Rangers were, what happened to make this movie. What were your problems? Like, so Ryan, as a fellow Power Rangers fan, what made you go fuck what? Huh?
Well, the first thing, and I forgot this until I was re-watching this one, and Rita comes on the screen, and I'm like, Rita? I don't remember her being so young and Mexican. And she wasn't.
Nope.
Just for the movie and then for the show after this. But they replaced the actress. At least they had the same voice actress.
Yeah, so it still sounded the same.
It did, yeah. But she was underused anyway, which is fine. But what I didn't like about this movie, trust me, this is purely coming from a 10-year-old boy's perspective. Like, they go from these giant fighting robot, like vicious dinosaurs and prehistoric beasts, right?
Yep.
They're awesome. They get upgraded to like more dragon, ninja, thunder versions of themselves, and it's even more awesome. And then they lose all that, and it's terrible. And then they show up in like these weird flowy monk robes, and they have like really peaceful Zen animals as their new Zords in this movie. I'm like, this is literally the uncoolest thing I've ever heard of. Like, I don't
So
want a
you were
frog,
like
and like
a-
an ape,
Yeah.
a crane.
Oh.
I mean, the bear was probably the best one.
Absolutely.
I mean,
yeah.
there
Or
was
I
a-
still love Tommy's rocket shooting falcon, but
I mean, yeah, some of them. I mean,
it's
like
like
the
in his
frog
claws
was-
that he has to have the baddest ass Zord or whatever.
Yeah.
The main problem I have with the style of this
And the frog
film,
was awesome.
Because you become a prince when kissed.
when you
That's
watch
literally the only
the
explanation for it.
when you watch the show and you get to the cutscenes, the Japanese cast is super into it with their body language and everything.
With their
The jerkiness and
Oh,
the
yeah.
choppiness is so like it is what they are.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. And then you watch this movie where Americans have to do that, and before every karate move or chop or whatnot, there just feels like there's a slight hesitation of I don't want to look stupid.
Yeah.
And you feel that
Yeah.
when they're moving.
This was the
There's
first
no,
time.
they're not fully into it like they are in Japan. So
No, you're totally right. But
This
it
was
also
the
could be
first time,
partially because of their incredibly restrictive and ugly costumes.
They
Yeah,
actually
those
shot the
two
Americans
things.
in the suits.
those two
Yeah.
things happen, and it just I really hate that about this movie because I'm like I feel like you're not when they're not into it as much. I'm not into it as much.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the dumber it is, you have to have the people doing the dumb things telling you how great this is. for
They
you
have to be
kinda buy it.
excited
Yeah.
about their dumb
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And it really felt like all the actors were over at this point, except for Jason David Frank, who still
Yeah.
gave it all of his.
No, the
Attitude.
Pink Ranger, Kimberly.
Yeah,
she's
no,
okay.
I think she still loves. I think she loves being the Pink Ranger.
Yeah, I mean, she's the one who just did the whole interview with the new cast, and
Yeah.
that was really cool. Like, Amy Jo Johnson does I've
She
always
does
liked,
fine, yeah.
she
But I thought David Yost seemed over it, or maybe they told him to play it cooler for this, and he was
Yeah,
like,
could be.
that's his like stone face. I'm not
He's
sure.
Billy, right?
yeah,
Yeah, Billy.
Yeah, I mean
Billy
that,
was
that
a
could be
badass
because
in this movie.
because Billy was way more badass in this movie than ever in the show.
Right.
And I don't think he's like lackluster in the show. It's just they made him way better in this.
They
I
did.
see.
He was
I
like the
disagree with you
silent
because I
killer.
liked the polarization of his old character, where he was like the worst fighter, but he was the geeky brain
No,
guy.
I don't mean better as in like a better character. They made him better at everything that he does. Like better fighter, better
yeah.
this, better speaking.
Yeah.
He's not as nerdy. Like they just made him like a cooler guy.
Right, which I missed.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think you're right. You kind of need. He was the straight man to the Power Rangers kind of craziness.
Right.
They didn't really have that anymore. And you still had the. Fuck, I don't even know what to call him. Alpha. Like I was gonna say like the lame Alpha, but you can't get any lamer than the Christmas special Alpha.
By the way, since Brian made me watch that, all I think about is Alpha kidnapping children. And I can't look at his character the same way ever again. It really ruined him. For
Yeah,
me.
if you want to have a fun half hour, look up on YouTube the Power Rangers Christmas special. It's Alpha's Christmas special. Oh my god.
He just kidnaps children and enslaves them and makes them sing in an uncomfortable way.
It's a half hour of Alpha and a random gang of children decorating a tree singing Christmas songs. Solid half hour of this.
He's going to prison.
I just got more uncomfortable with this movie than I already was.
Yeah. But okay, let's kind of go through the Rangers. So we've just kind of talked about Billy a little bit, and Billy is completely against type of Billy.
I like Billy in this movie a lot.
I don't dislike him, but he doesn't feel like Billy from the show.
This was
Like if they'd swapped David Yost out with a different Blue Ranger, it would have been just as fitting.
I gotta say, watching this, I mean, I can't even remember the name of all the Rangers. I'm just like,
I got
wow.
you. Just tell me the color.
I mean, that's the point. Is like Tommy, the main guy,
Yeah.
and then Kimberly were like the only two that mattered. Literally, the other ones barely even had to be there.
Yeah, I always kind of feel bad for Rocky. Rocky really got the short end of the stick as far as Power Rangers go, because the Red Ranger's always supposed to be the one in charge, and he took over as the one, like the second in command Red Ranger.
Yeah, it's like I was watching and I was just like, do they need to be here other than for the stunts, like, and just to look like a team? It was, I mean, personally, I mean, going through the Rangers of the movie, I think you'd have to go through them for the show because it's just like,
Well, that's what I'm
there's
trying to
no character.
Well, that's the I agree with you. The only two that really have a strong character are Tommy and Kimberly.
Who are totally about to bone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean,
That was in the show before this, wasn't
yeah,
it?
yeah. Oh, yeah. That's all the way back to the very introduction of
That's
Tommy.
what I thought.
Is Kimberly looks at him and is like, "Oh, I want that."
Yeah, in that wife beater. Mm.
Getting all chewy up
Your
on
arms
it.
are kind of scrawny, but you're trying to play a tough guy.
Yeah.
But I mean, canonically, he does end up marrying a different Pink Ranger, not Kimberly.
So
but
he just
whatever.
likes the color pink.
He does, yeah. He marries the one from Zeo, is what I'm getting at. If you guys aren't paying attention, that's
I don't
fine.
know if this is canon or real life.
It's definitely canon, not in real life.
There
I
are
don't know.
cannons in it.
But okay, so if we're just talking about the
That's the
movies,
pirate ship
so
version.
let's talk about the forgettable Rangers. So if we have Billy, who's surprisingly a badass in this one, we have Rocky, who I think only has like 5 to 10 lines in the whole movie.
I don't care about Rocky at all.
And the thing is, I really like the Steve. I can't pronounce his last name. Starts with a C. Cardenas, I think it is. Cardenas.
That sounds right.
I've seen him speak at multiple Power Ranger things, and he loves Power Rangers. Like he's so into his character. He was so excited for the movie, and they just didn't really give him a lot. And like you hear him talk about it, he had a great time making the movie, but he really doesn't have a lot to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like he tries to save the day at that one point with his Zord, but that's really kind of it.
Everyone does that.
Yeah, they all kind of got the same beat there, so it's kind of too bad because I really like him in Power Rangers just because of how much fun he appears to be having. But
Yeah, I mean, he was definitely the guy out there. He's like, yeah, dude, we get to kick some ass. Let's do
Yeah.
this. I'm so stoked right now. Like,
Yeah.
he was definitely like the surfer bro
Yeah,
of everyone.
yeah, for
and
sure.
I think that's kind of why I was like, he's like, yeah, dude, I got cool ninja powers. Let's do this. Oh no, Zord! Like the scene when they're all, you could tell how much each one of them cared about it by the scene when they're healing Zordon, because you can see on their
Yes.
face just how much everyone was like, all right, yeah, this is a good paycheck, and who was like, just shoot me in the face. Just shoot me right in the face. And then you got Tommy over there, oh, I'm going to overact the hell out of this one.
I've got at least 3 more iterations of the show in me.
Tommy's like, I will ride this till I die.
I don't get punched in the face nearly as much as my other job.
And then Rocky's just like, oh, man, this white dude's going to die. We should probably heal him.
But it's fun for how much he cares is like how little Adam cares. Like you look at the Black Ranger Adam, and it's just like he gives no fucks about this movie, really, at any point.
Because he got a frog.
Yeah.
Once you read that script and be like, really? That's what you're going to give me? I'm done with this.
And the thing is, like,
if he had gotten a long tongue along with it, so he could just be like,
he did. The whole fight is the long tongue.
Oh, I was thinking I was like a real person.
Oh no, he didn't get that. The Zord did though. That's all the Zord does. It just
It'd be so much fun to
They're
go
not-
around a food court. Oh, that's mine.
well,
They're not
that's mine.
animorphs or mutants.
yeah,
The individual Zords are always so short-lived anyway.
that's true. Yeah. But no, I it's funny because you talk about how much everyone liked it, and even the guy who plays Adam has gone on many things about how much he enjoyed doing it. But you watch him in this movie, he's like, you don't look like you're having fun.
Probably because he's getting paid TV wages to be in a movie.
Yeah, that was so fucking shitty of them. And then who else have we not talked? We haven't talked about Aisha because she's completely forgotten about in the whole movie until she gets the Bear Zord, which is awesome.
The best.
She looks very happy about being a
And
bear.
she has I will save it for my quotes, but she has my favorite quote about her Zord, and it's fucking awesome. But she just even if you look at she's top listed on IMDb for it, so I guess that's good for her, right?
Yeah, even in the
IMDb
credits.
doesn't count.
I think even in the credits, they like list them in alphabetical order too.
Oh,
and
so she'd
she's,
be on
like,
top again?
Yeah.
Lucky.
Yeah.
Now, she always looked like she was invested in the movie to me. Like what
Yeah, I
they gave
could-
her, she used as much as she could.
Yeah, I could agree with that, but they just didn't give her fucking shit though.
No,
Yeah, like her and
they
Rocky.
really just care about Kimberly.
Her and Rocky were like, oh, we can try to do something and like save our characters. But then it is just like,
And then
we'll just cut around.
Brian Spicer's like, no, you can't. Are you Tommy or Kimberly? Then get the fuck out.
Your name isn't even Freddy the little kid.
Oh God.
Fuck. Why was he in this movie?
I want to know his
The
backstory.
subplot of the parents and the children. I'm like, what is this supposed to be? Some weird intro thing for the younger generation? Because it's really lame.
I mean, that's the thing. So if we talk about the Power Rangers, and I agree with everything you're saying about how little, like, I mean, it's kind of like the Dark Knight Rises of like, all right, so here's a Power Rangers movie with fucking no Power Rangers in it. They're just gonna be wearing their stupid monk robes the whole time.
Right.
It's even worse when it's like, all right, so I have very little Power Rangers in my Power Ranger movie. On top of that, I have to waste how much time with this fucking kid and his dad?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't give a shit about either one of them.
It's like when you watch the kid in a Transformers show.
Yeah.
Who cares? It's not even Shia LaBeouf.
Well, and as someone who is unclear on the progression to a certain point, like I understand that you go from human to Power Ranger to Zord to Megazord.
I'm glad you got that.
Yeah, but like where I'm still foggy on like the human to Power Ranger thing, like I actually have to clarify that. But
Okay.
the point is like you spend all that time with the human part before you get to the Power Ranger part, and then they just kind of rush you through the end. It's like there was a lot more I wanted to see with like the Power Ranger suits, the all those progressions. Like in any anime that does this, there's a frustrating amount of time that they spend on the noob or the kind of the lesser version.
Right.
They spend so much time on that thinking that's going to build the character. When for most of the movie, you're just like, get into the suit.
Just do it.
Get into the suit. And this movie kind of, it was hard to get into in the beginning. I got into it more as they started getting into their suits. Even the monk robe thing.
So they get into the suits like right away.
Right.
Like, that's what. That's what.
away right away.
Yeah, that
they
was
already
'cause-
have them.
Yeah,
They
they
don't know origin
they have them
story.
and lose them. They
which I
call
was fine with. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it needed no origin story.
But the problem is that they lose them right away.
Right.
And then we spend most of the movie them getting their powers. So we don't get an origin story, and then we kind of do.
Right. Yeah.
And it was such a misstep for the movie. Like what should have just been a fun celebration of Power Rangers now tries to be an origin story for Power Rangers, and it's totally why they never got into the movie.
And sometimes there's a great way to do that. Like, oh, these characters lose what has been gifted to them as superpowers, and they have to learn to fight without them. But instead, this Amazon woman shows up and gives them their powers back.
Yeah, and
There's
Well,
no
and
like,
that's why
character
The
development.
stupid Amazon woman.
Well, and that's why it feels longer. Because
How do we get sex appeal into this child movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Sexy
you're-
Amazon lady.
Yeah, I would love to be there for that costume design.
Can we put a girl in a full robe?
Can she wear less? Well, yeah, sure. I mean, I guess we can have a little bit of midriff. All right, yeah, cool. How about less? Well, I mean, I guess sure. I mean, I guess she doesn't need pants. We can try to put her like a bikini. Yeah.
Getting closer.
That's
Is
good.
she
How about less?
Can we,
Can we cut away?
Can we put her in a bikini that looks really organic?
Yeah.
That
I basically-
like could just disintegrate at any moment.
I want kids to be thinking if she turned the right way, they'd see her nipples. Like that's what I want.
If she did a high kick, there's her vagina.
Yeah, like we want to get right up to that line.
Yep.
If you could just keep taking it away till we get there.
She's definitely the one who slept with Brian Spicer to get a role.
And at the very beginning, she's gonna be Obi-Wan. Just so you know.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
I was watching that, and the moment she popped on screen, because I'd forgotten about her, I was just like, oh, that's where they got the new Rita Repulsa outfit.
Right.
Yeah.
So
So she's still acting today. She's got a movie coming out. It's a straight to video. It's called Fatties Take Down the House.
So she's not acting.
So question is this
Brian,
gained a lot of
telling us
weight?
stop telling us porn names, all right?
is this
She was in 2 episodes of Lost. I'll give her that much.
is this character a movie creation?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
she's not in them.
She's a movie creation, and that stupid fucking pig is a movie creation.
Okay.
The pig came out of nowhere. I
And
hate the
villain.
pig.
Yeah.
And Ivan Ooze, but I was kind of expecting them to come up with their own villain, so that
Sure.
really wasn't that much of a.
But
a
it was like
stretch.
we watched that, and the pig just replaced like the common character.
Yeah,
that
replaced
we
Babu.
knew.
Like,
Yeah.
where the fuck is Babu?
It's like
Babu's a great character.
When we watch Ninja Turtles, and we're like, why aren't Token
Why
Razor?
is
Yes.
my
Same
friend
problem.
Jason Yabara not on the screen?
Yep.
Yeah, it's like I should have had him.
I
on
said-
Well,
today.
it's just interesting that for someone who has no real history of it, I could kind of tell that some of these things were movie creations, and that they actually confused me more. Because I'm kind of following along, but then you got this character who's never been in the series, this lady who can guide them to the mystical powers,
Yeah.
and all these like kind of movie constructions. I'm like, but this doesn't seem like, from an outsider's perspective, this doesn't seem like part of Power Rangers.
No, it came from that school of thought that was very much in the 90s of we need to make this movie for everyone. So instead of trying to make it for the fans, which later Marvel has perfected of making it for the fans, it also happens to be for everyone, because the more you go after your actual niche audience, more people will understand why it is as good as it is.
Right.
So by trying to make it more mellow and bland and just kind of across the board, more and more people kind of went, this just kind of sucks. And it's really, honestly, like as much as like cheesy and kind of jokey as I can be about it, it's really too bad because there was something kind of special about Power Rangers when it came out. And that's the reason they got the movie. Like there's something that people attach to, and it's really kind of corny, hokey, fun way that this movie tried to do full tilt serious, which is the same thing the new movie's trying to do. And it's like, you guys, you don't get why people love Power Rangers.
Right.
Brian Spicer and company from this movie totally do not understand why people love Power Rangers. And it's really, I think it's all over the screen.
It's a weird thing that, in a way, it probably was his job to try to convert it to
Totally,
this
yes.
massive audience, because that's what movies are supposed to do.
yeah, I
You
and
want
I
to
get
make
that.
money.
Alienated his own audience. There's a very fine line to ride, and I can't name a ton of things that nail it.
Yeah, it's very
Where
rare.
you please the fans and the general public.
Yeah, but this one I feel missed the mark wider than usual.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, the first thing we've kind of joked about a few times, but I'll actually talk about it now really quick. The first, for me, the real sign of trouble in this movie is the suits.
Yeah.
It's the costume design across the board is fucking horrible.
Yeah.
But the suits in particular are they look uncomfortable. They look stupid. They don't match the show very well. It's 1 diamond as opposed to 3. It's supposed to be 3 diamonds across. It's supposed to be just 1. And
Purist.
they have their emblems in their chest, which was on the toys, which I guess that's why
That's
they did
right.
it.
I totally forgot that wasn't actually in the show.
Yeah, it's not in the show, but they did it on the toys. I don't know why they did it in the toys in the first place, but then they copied the toys into the movies, which was also kind of a weird choice. But ultimately, it's like, even when they're just like rollerblading around Angel Grove, I'm like, why are you guys all wearing white shorts?
No, the girls were wearing pink and yellow,
Oh, okay.
and it was all about their butts.
Oh, yeah.
That shot was great.
Butts.
I just enjoyed how good they were at inline skating. I
Yeah.
mean, when was the last time
That
you saw
sequence
that?
was so long.
It was.
Yeah,
It was
Like,
unnecessarily
Like I
long.
was like starting to get into like old man or old woman Chewie of these teenagers. They think they're so cool. They just keep skating around everywhere. I'm really annoyed at them right now.
I'd really like to cut together all the movies from the 90s that have rollerblading montages. Like, put this, Hackers,
And see, it's
Mighty
made,
Ducks 2.
While wearing all the protection.
It feels longer because it was followed
Safety
directly.
first.
It followed directly the skydiving scene, which also took 2 hours to watch. Like,
I mean, that's a really long sequence,
Yeah.
but at the same
Makes
time,
no sense.
it makes
Actually,
no
I
sense.
really
There's
like this-
problems, but it's really well shot. And
It's
I
well
fucking
shot.
love
It's
it.
well shot.
There's
I
a
like the thing with the comedy relief in the plane.
Vulcan Skull.
Vulcan Skull in the
Skull.
Vulcan Skull in the plane is pretty great. I really enjoyed that. And I also liked the child shaming his dad on his
Oh, yeah. You landed in the parking lot.
yeah. They were like, "You're bad at skydiving, Dad. You're not as good as these teenagers."
Which I want to know where these skydiving competitions are.
A, where are the skydiving
Back in the
competitions?
90s?
B, where are the skydiving competitions that allow teenagers to jump?
Oh,
See, why does only one guy get to have a snowboard?
did that all the time.
Airboard.
But whatever, only one of them gets it. And the amount of flips they were doing, I was like, one of them threw up for
Yeah.
sure.
As someone who played Pilot Wing 64 religiously, we did a lot of that.
Yeah.
Skydiving into targets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they all nailed it, which is very impressive. And it's still
That's
it's all
why they won the competition.
Right.
And when
that's
they
why
get
they're
their
the
Power
Power
Rangers.
Rangers.
But how does no one in the audience go, holy shit, those are the Power Rangers? They all land perfectly, and they're all wearing the colors
Yeah.
of the Power Rangers.
No, but
They're so bad at hiding their freaking Power Ranger-ness. They're just like
Whatever.
Bruce Wayne.
That's
like,
not gonna be
everyone
the thing
knows
that
who
gets
you
me out
are.
of this movie.
But it seems like everyone knows.
Right.
They know it's one of those things where
They know they're the
but
coolest kids in town.
everyone knows, but they're not going to talk about it. It's like one of those like maybe if we mention it, they might lose their powers.
Right.
So let's just not talk about. They're clearly the Power
Santa
Rangers.
Claus.
Like Freddy just knows the entire time. Like, yeah, those are the Power Rangers.
They're gonna
the kids
hide
always
behind
know.
some bushes. They're gonna touch their watches, and then they're gonna beam away in a color of light. No one's gonna notice.
Yeah. Have you ever noticed that whenever you hear beep 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 beep, all 5 of these or 6 of the teenagers just
Right.
disappear?
Right.
Not like disappear like oh where'd they go, but like these
That was a flying
rainbow
rainbow.
flies into the sky.
I just saw a group of teenagers go past here. Has anyone seen them? I think
As
they
long as
just
you look over your
evaporated.
shoulder a couple times before you do it, you can fly through the sky as a rainbow.
Yeah.
No one else
Hey,
is going to notice.
if you all can turn that way real
Yeah.
quick,
Yeah.
I got
Just
it.
turn
Why
around.
is there no purple ranger? Purple
Wild
ranger?
Force. Check it out.
There's a okay in one
go.
season.
That's the only one I know off the top of my
So,
head.
kind of an aside, and maybe beside the point, I do want to know the
Yes.
difference between like unsuited Power Rangers and regular Power Rangers, because it seemed like in the beginning, and maybe this is just because the movie doesn't quite set it up very well, they could still hold their own. But
They're still martial artists.
They're still martial
they
artists.
they go to ninja school, and by ninja school I mean normal high school where they all practice karate.
Okay.
Because Angel City. I screwed up that joke.
Thanks for nothing, Matt.
I was going to say the Angel City curriculum involves
Because it seems like
Yeah,
their common core is
clearly it
martial
does.
arts.
Yeah,
as kind of feeding into the whole like the movie, it just doesn't get what it's all about. It feels like in that transition, I'm just like, well, why? Like they're holding their own against these guys without the suits. What's this? Why do you need the suits, or why do you need to like? Why don't you put the suits on first? Like, there's a lot of problem, and I feel like it's the movie that does this because
it's not.
it's not.
Okay, so when you become a Power Ranger, you have to agree to not use your powers for personal gain.
Uh-huh.
Not, I forget 2 of the other ones, but one of the major ones is that you cannot escalate it until the enemy escalates it.
Okay.
So if you're just fighting putties, you don't necessarily need to morph because they're just putties. You can just punch them and then they'll eventually hit the
Gotcha.
Z on their chest, they'll explode. Or if it's before that, you just punch them until they don't want to be punched anymore.
And then I think that's what the movie also doesn't do in service to that, getting what makes the show
Man,
good.
I wish
is
Donald
because
Trump was a Power Ranger.
for as like trying to get everybody as they can, it's that one area that feels like that's kind of an important thing in the beginning to get. You can't use your powers for personal gain. Like there's kind of like these rules in place.
They
that-
already had this big like prologue, right? They had Zordon narrate this story, or whoever the woman narrates the story at the beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They could have included
text.
Yeah.
Was that the
Reading.
Oh,
Amazon
another thing they
woman?
took from Star Wars,
think
by
it
the
was.
way.
Yeah.
Oh, crawl in the beginning?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that.
It's just 90s Star Wars.
Yeah.
They really tried.
I mean, I can't blame them for trying. It's not a bad idea. Like, what's popular? This? Oh, and I'm sorry. It's
Well, actually, at this time, Star Wars was not popular.
Right.
I mean,
This was just before it blew up again.
that's true. That's
Before
true.
they thrust it back down our throats.
In 1997,
Oh, and I
the year
apologize.
that
It's-
changed my life.
It wasn't Wild Force. It was Jungle Fury. I'm sorry.
And listen, if we're gonna correct
You know
ourselves, I apologize to Julia
Shame.
Perez.
Shame.
I'm the infamously wrong one here. Julia Perez is from Australia, not Mexico.
Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez.
It's a huge difference. I mean, her name's Perez. I fucked that up too. It's Cortez.
Entire
Jesus Christ.
hemisphere. A
We just need to
hemisphere.
cut this whole thing out. It's gone.
I'll just bleep all of it. Don't
I'm
worry.
all
So many
wrong about-
bleeps, so much racism. Jesus.
Rita's
The Power
vagina.
Just all the Power Rangers just makes it come out. I gotta say one thing.
Yes.
So I was watching this movie and I was like, it's 90s as hell. I can get past
Sure,
that.
yep.
Because I mean, you watch things with that mindset. Oh yeah, it's gonna be 90s. Even all the crazy movies, it's like they can't see us talk. So animate every
Right.
single thing that you do. But then They're in space fighting the giant Ivan Ooze. And the in case of emergency button is a kick to the balls.
Like, so 90s.
It's not even a kick to the balls. It's
like
a
knee
knee to the balls.
Is it a knee or
Yeah,
a shin?
it's a knee. And the problem is like, okay, so that's your in case of emergency. What happens if your emergency does not involve a male grappling you?
That's what exactly I thought. I was like, that's the in case of emergency? I thought that was just like, let me just take the joystick and do it. Like, who's controlling that leg that didn't think of that before?
Well, and for me, those things are what I was getting into the most. Being as an outsider to it is
They
like
use-
when they embrace the 90s of it, the weird of it, when they finally get full tilt into it, I was getting it. I was into it, but when they tried to get so serious, like there was moments where they tried to get super serious, I was like, no.
Yeah.
One thing that I'm wondering, how many 90s adaptations used the balls thing? Because they did that in Mortal Kombat as
A
well.
lot, yeah.
That was in the game, though.
Yeah.
yeah, that had been a thing.
The punch to the balls, and that's the only way you can beat Gorgon?
Well, that's
Johnny Cage's
move.
one of his moves is to do the splits and punch you in the balls. That's been
Okay.
since the first Mortal Kombat.
But you're not wrong on the 90s point. There's a
Yeah,
lot
I mean,
of balls.
there's a lot of ball hitting jokes.
Because honestly, it's really funny.
Yeah, I mean, football on
also
the groin
is-
has a football on the groin.
It came right back for Ghostbusters last year.
Yeah.
Just getting hit in the balls is always a kids and young adult trope.
Yeah.
It's not even it's just funny to everyone.
I'm just thinking about it now. And I'm
Balls
laughing.
are hilarious. We made lots of jokes at work.
What the other thing that I
Made
really
with
want
bin
to
of balls at work.
the other thing that we have not mentioned that I feel must be mentioned for this movie very specifically is how horrible the special effects are.
I was trying
Ooh.
to skip it.
Even by
Yeah.
by 95 standards, like these were just atrocious.
See, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I had to be like, all right, so it's 95. I mean, I appreciate practical effects.
Yeah.
I really love so like a lot of it, them being in this like
That's all great.
full costumes and everything being
Oozes.
fully. I mean,
Bodysuit is not bad.
No, it's
no,
great.
like,
Like
That's why they
even-
use it for Apocalypse.
like
Yeah.
even like Goldar and Lord Zed and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
They look
and-
great.
Goldar
Yeah,
is
they-
so bad. His mouth moves like every 3 words.
Yeah, but that's how it was in the show
I
too.
know.
So
Rawr,
like,
rawr,
rawr.
but like
still,
those
it's a
suits, they
made
still
suit.
yeah,
They
and
did.
I love Zed's costume. Like all that's
Yeah.
fantastic. And then that's
even
why
the birds and all that.
yeah,
like,
all
it's
looks great. And then that's why when you get to the end, it's like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Like it could not look worse.
It looked worse than an Asylum movie.
Yeah, like it is as bad as it can look, and it's
Yeah.
so frustrating because it's as a kid who watches this show daily to go from the big like old school Godzilla-esque city destroying suits of
Yeah.
man in rubber costume that I love, and it's part of the reason why I still love kaiju movies today. See our kaiju battle episode.
Yeah.
To this is like, what the hell am I like? This looks just like shitty cartoons.
Can
Like-
you answer this? For the TV series before this, did they all the action of the monsters was that from the Japanese cut as well?
In Mighty Morphin, I believe it's like 90%.
Okay.
Later ones, it gets varying degrees of percentage. But
Because so they did for the American version, they did put on rubber suits and make miniature city models and
Oh,
crash
yeah.
them.
oh yeah, the costume designer who was on for all the way I think through Disney until Nickelodeon bought it was like the same guy, and he did part of the Q&A before we saw this on 35. He showed pictures of his house, like his garage. He's like, I have so many fucking costumes.
That's awesome.
And it's just just a photo of a garage just filled with monster suits.
And it was interesting listening to him talk about it because he was talking about how he'd get them from Japan, and Japan did not give a shit about Americans making their version of Power Rangers. So they'd send the suits to him, and a lot of times, mostly damaged.
Oh, like horrifically, like they were lucky if they still had them, and if they had them, they were in horrible condition.
Yeah.
But that was the best way for them to be able to replicate them
Right.
for their own reshoots.
I want to know
And-
about the size of them though, because like you look at the original Godzilla suit, it's like 5 foot tall.
Yeah,
Right.
Oh, yeah, they're
It
all
surely was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you found people to fit the costumes instead of costume to
Yeah.
fit the people.
Yeah, but I mean, then you got most Americans who are over 5 foot tall, so
Yeah.
now they're bigger than the monsters. Like,
That means all the monsters were women.
probably,
Probably.
I
yeah.
don't know.
I mean,
Yeah.
it wouldn't surprise me,
Absolutely.
but I mean that also depended on the show of which one needed.
But even so, that's the show, not the movie.
Yeah,
Just hearing all this, it's interesting to me that it appears like across all these movies that have tried to adapt these things or make movie versions, all of them, and probably even the one coming out now, have not learned the lesson. Like when you go to like you got the monster suits, the city battles, that all looks cool. And then you throw the CG in there and it's like, what? Even as someone not familiar with Power Rangers, I knew the moment that this stopped feeling like a Power Rangers thing was during the final fight with all like the CGI crap. Because it just kind of got weird and different. It felt foreign.
Yeah.
And it's like there's adding these elements. Like we keep doing it. And it's very interesting.
Well,
like,
the thing that I find the most interesting about it is like don't get me wrong, I really enjoy Max Landis. Like I think he does some really, really interesting and intriguing stuff, and I think he's one of the writers to look for now. Yeah. I hear he's attached to something, I'm immediately more interested. But attaching people like him or Adi Shackner, like these people who enjoy Power Rangers want to grow with it, and they want it to turn into something bigger and darker. I mean, like I heard that Adi Shackner is doing now an animated series. It's going to be more like his short film. That's great. Like that's all fun. But you guys don't get Power Rangers anymore. And it's great that you want to take it and manipulate it into your own thing, and I am all for that. Like I am such a proponent of like adapt a book, don't try to put a book on screen because you lose something in the translation. So it's great that these guys are doing it, and they're kind of doing what you're saying though. It's like like Max Landis wrote a version of the script that they eventually said they didn't want, and then they basically just had somebody else write it for cheaper, which is total bullshit.
Yeah, and they made it Chronicle. They got the guy who wrote Chronicle, and he said, I'm not going to write it like Chronicle. They said, okay, that's fine. And then they saw a script, went, nope, brought in someone else and said, make Power Rangers Chronicle.
Yeah.
You take an ambitious idea man with a really skill for screenwriting, and you make him not use ideas. That's stupid.
It's such a horrible
Hollywood.
idea.
Yeah.
Such a because like I've heard him talk about like the movie he wanted to make, and you hear about movies he wants to make. Unbelievably intelligent guy who I'm excited to see stuff, and they take a property that he is ripe for, and they go, never mind. And it's like, well, shit. Although he does have a writing credit, so I'm not sure if they use some of his ideas or they just are basically giving him credit for writing a draft. I don't know.
It's just people are afraid to lean into kookiness a lot.
Yeah.
They're like, it's such a strange flavor between making something palatable for children, where it's just kind of at a certain level of intelligence, and then adding in the kooky satire that makes people really loves the property of Power Rangers, really.
Yeah.
I don't know how to capture what you're trying to say better than that.
I know what you're saying. It's pretty much, there's a genre of superhero films now where it's mostly serious and it's, all CGI and it's all that stuff. And so they're trying to adapt Power Rangers to that style, which is completely different than the original Power Rangers style.
Yeah, because like with Marvel, the movies are fun. The Marvel movies right now are fun. I would never call them kooky.
Right.
Like even like the closest you get is with Guardians of the Galaxy, but they're more quibby. There's a difference. I don't know how you.
No, you're right.
They're not campy.
You can even tell.
It's a camp.
I mean, it's not even a camp to me. Like to me, camp's even different.
It's totally campy.
Total camp.
But you can tell they've also honed it down. They've refined it. When some of those things, you just can't let them be refined. You gotta let them you gotta have the jagged edges.
Lean into it, guys.
Yeah,
because I can tell from.
Well, the problem is that the examples of people leaning into it are wildly unsuccessful. Scott Pilgrim made no money.
Yep.
Speed Racer was widely panned.
Two movies I
they
really
leaned into
enjoyed
it
watching.
so hard with Speed Racer.
Yeah, every time they lean into the kookiness, as you put it, they get panned into into the stratosphere.
It's really too bad.
It is.
Well,
really
it's like we've
Yeah.
never kind of succeeded in growing up out of our irony phase, like our kind of ironic detachment phase. We've never kind of removed ourselves or grown up.
Yeah.
Essentially, because when you get to a certain age, you can start to understand what was good about it, what was fun about it, what you were drawn to in it. Because I could kind of see slivers of that in the movie. But I would have almost rather watched an episode of the show because I could tell you guys missed it.
Well,
Like,
they're trying so hard to be cool.
Well, the thing is,
Being
like,
Power
when
Rangers isn't about being cool.
No.
Yeah. So when you say the slivers of it, and this is where I think we'll probably bring this argument portion of it to a close. When you say there's slivers of it, I think it's entirely in the cast, and the fact that they didn't recast for the movie was genius.
Yep.
It was the best move they made for the entire thing, was keep the people who know the characters and love the characters and put them into the movie. It's something that I wish DC had looked at and went, well, at least that movie did something right. Because if we had Grant Gustin as the Flash, no offense to Ezra Miller, I think he looks like he's going to do a good job, but Grant Gustin is the Flash that I want to see right now.
Yeah.
He's so good.
Yeah.
And that's what this movie did well. They took the TV Power Rangers and put him in the movie. That was smart.
I think, kind of going back to what we were saying earlier, we're like, oh, they were trying to adapt it for a larger audience.
Sure.
And that's the main thing. You have to realize a TV show can have a smaller audience. It can have a niche audience and still run for as long as it has.
Yeah.
When you don't need all those viewers every week. You don't need them all at once like a movie does. You can have that a smaller amount spread out over time instead of all of them coming within one short period.
Yeah.
And so to be able to do that, you have to change things. You have to make it more marketable. You have to make it more widespread and understandable. Because if you just do that niche, the people that you see watching the show each week are going to go see that. And that doesn't work for a movie.
Now here's my disagree with that is that's what I feel like the producers are saying. And then when you look at what they did, it didn't work. Whereas if you look at movies that do lean into the audience, like Godzilla, the new King Kong movie, the people who are just like, we're going straight for the niche audience are suddenly, or like Deadpool would be another great example, go straight for the niche. Warcraft, wildly successful. When they lean into what the fans wanted, suddenly the movie explodes. When they try to make it more palatable, it fails.
But it never explodes in the way that the studios are dreaming of. Like Deadpool is the #1 grossing R-rated movie opening weekend of all time, and I bet it came in under what they wanted.
No, I remember. No, it came way over.
Did it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they wanted it to make around 200 million. Is what they're hoping for, and they got up to 700.
Yeah,
Oh,
worldwide.
Warcraft did the opposite.
Yeah,
Well, it still got 600 million. They were hoping for $1 billion on that,
Right.
which just wasn't going to happen.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, and I get but that's the thing. That wasn't something that was established as a movie or a TV show before. Like King Kong and Godzilla, those have only been movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those were already going towards that wide audience.
There was an animated series for Godzilla, but go ahead.
Not talking about that.
To non-nerds, they're movies.
Yeah.
Yes.
King Kong, pretty much all movies. You know, that's what anyone remembers. So then when you're going to go make a movie again, it's like, oh, it's like the old movies that you can refer back to. When you're talking about a TV show, especially nowadays where there's so many, you can't watch all of them. It's a lot harder to do that and have it explode. Deadpool didn't come from a TV, didn't come from a movie before. I mean, you can technically say, oh, well, he was in that stuff. None of that counts because the only thing you had to go off of was comic books.
Sure, yeah.
And it came out in an age where you just accepted, oh, anything superhero comes from a comic book. You know, and you just, it's not going to follow anything correctly. It doesn't really matter at that point. Everyone knows that. Power Rangers has a niche audience, and I think most of America is not that niche audience. And so you have to, if you want all of America to go see it, you have to kind of ignore that niche audience.
I agree, but the proof will be in the pudding, as they say. If this next movie is successful, you're right, and if it's not, I'm right, and then I'm the happiest person in the world because I like being right.
I mean, I don't think it's gonna. I think it's gonna do moderate. I don't think it's gonna. I don't think it's gonna bomb. I don't think it's gonna succeed.
I feel like they should have had their trailers. Quite frankly, have sucked.
Yeah,
they have not done a good job selling it on either like charm or action or anything. All the trailers have been incredibly vanilla, and I think if the movie matches the trailers, it'll bomb.
Yeah.
If it's somewhat better, it will do well, or if it's more Power Rangers, it'll do well. But if it does what I'm really afraid it's going to do, and it tries to go for Power Rangers fans, wide audience fans, kids, adults, everybody, by trying to go for everybody, it's going to get nobody.
Could be.
Yeah, I just have a hard time because like I'm like the film guy in my house.
Sure.
And like with my parents and my brother and sister and all that stuff, like they watch Now You See Me Too and go, wow, that was amazing. The twists and turns. And I'm just like, saw every single thing the whole time, you know?
I didn't even bother watching it.
Yeah, exactly.
I haven't seen either of the movies.
Yeah, exactly. So I think for us as fans of this type of stuff already, it's a lot easier to be like, yeah, if they just do it, it's going to be successful. It's going to be successful to us.
Right.
But I've been able, because of my family, not, seeing and pretty much being that middle America that they aim to, seeing what they like, they're going to that with this new movie. And the regular Power Rangers, they would not go see it, no matter how good you heard it was.
Probably
they're
true.
not going to go see it.
I'll be interested to see how this turns out because I don't think you're wrong. I'm going to be interested to see who still shows up for this. If they're just really riding that 90s nostalgia wave hardcore, then it's going to do really well.
Yeah.
But
this movie is going to live or die by the second weekend.
Yeah,
because it's
the first
a
weekend,
bunch of people are waiting for reviews.
Yes, first weekend is guaranteed money. Like it is going to do very well. It'll be #1 in the box office. It's going to do great opening weekend. After that, you're right. If it's good, or if people say it's good, it doesn't even have to be good. Because like Suicide Squad was panned by critics, but it still did great in the second weekend because people who went and saw it were like, "Oh, it's still Harley Quinn. Good enough for me."
Right.
Yeah.
They did, though.
You can disagree with me all you want. That's still what happened.
Yeah, I guess.
Alternative facts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
She's presenting an alternative.
I guess what I'm just trying to say is that like we have of what we internalize as success and what actual success for a movie
Oh, I'm
is.
just looking at the dollar.
So-
Like, how much money does it make is what I'm
Yeah.
considering successful at this point.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah.
I know that. I'm just
and all I want
just for my
Right.
the way
You're right.
I'm
As
thinking
film
about
buffs
it.
and nerds, we
Yeah.
have a real different criteria for
Yeah.
judging these.
Exactly.
Now,
Exactly.
for
I would
me,
like to-
for me as a fan, all I want is the movie. All I want is for more people to go, that was pretty good. Like, that would be phenomenal for me as a fan who's been never giving up on Power Rangers. If people walk out of this going, oh, it wasn't bad, even if I hate it on my nerd level, it still makes me excited as a Power Rangers fan that more people enjoyed Power Rangers. I can hate the shit out of it. If it still appeals to a wide audience, that's a success for me and the property that I love.
It's exactly what I said about Force Awakens.
Yeah.
It's
Did I-
the
That is
I came
not
out, like,
how I
shitting
feel
on it.
about Star Wars at all.
and then I saw some
but-
kids playing Kylo Ren or whatever, and I was like, okay,
It's
fine.
the moment when we all saw Godzilla together, and his back starts to light up, and I wasn't familiar with that thing, and I heard Chewie gasp, and I was like, they did something here. They got something, and
That movie
I
was so good. That was like pure sex. Like, I've just been waiting. There's so much foreplay.
It's been at least
We're
10 minutes.
we've almost had too much foreplay.
Again
Oh, this is the right
with
time.
dicks.
Yeah.
It has been 0 days.
But I do
since our
want
last
to bring up
incident.
something interesting.
Okay, well, bring it up quickly because
Yeah,
we're hitting the same problem we did last
that
week.
piggybacks off of what you said about them bringing the actors in,
Yeah.
and it's a positive for this movie. This movie is like Marvel should look to this movie to connect their TV to their movies, because that is the biggest sin Marvel has done. Is like, I can't care about anything from their TV as a connection to Marvel.
Yeah.
Like Daredevil's Daredevil, not Marvel. You know,
Right.
Jessica Jones is Jessica Jones, not Marvel. None of that's Marvel. Movies are Marvel. Anything that connects to the movies, you're just saying that because you have to. Whereas like they actually made an effort
Yeah.
with this to bring it in, and for all the many sins of the movie, it still brought that in. It still made it like, this is just a longer show. This is
Yeah.
just a scenario that had to happen in a movie because it was a singular thing, whereas the rest of the episodes are a little bit more contained. I think they beat Marvel with that.
Yeah.
I have to say
That could be true.
I think the X-Files personally did
Ooh, that was
the
a good one,
best
too.
job
Yeah.
with the make a long episode movie thing.
And that was actually a pretty
Yeah.
decent movie.
Yeah.
It wasn't a great movie, but it was
It
decent.
wasn't, but and it was successful.
Yeah, as it should have been. But all right, so we need to finish this thing up. So we're gonna move into quotes. I'm gonna go first. Mine comes from Aisha when she's in her bear Zord and she gets ready to fight the first bad guy, and she goes, "It's time to boogie with the bear." That is awesome.
All the one-liners.
jeez.
I wrote down. I started this like my list of quotes.
Yeah.
Very early on in the movie, and they didn't stop. Go on, guys. I have so many.
Somebody else go before Ryan takes all of ours.
I mean the quote that stuck. I didn't know we were doing quotes. I mean the one for me was just the frog. Like,
Yeah.
oh man, I'm a frog, but when you kiss a frog, it turns into a prince. Oh yeah, and now he's just happy, and I was just like, that was the moment where I just went, wait, what?
Well, she
But-
kisses him on the head.
Yeah, it's not
I
the
think-
same.
I still think it's
wrong
the only reason he's smiling is because the naked woman just kissed him on the forehead.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And that was the best moment of being on set.
Sure.
But for me, that was just like, wait, he doesn't get an explanation about why he's the frog. Not like you can jump high and you're agile
Yeah.
and stuff. It's just, nah, just we couldn't think of anything
Fuck,
else. So you're
ran
getting a
out
frog.
of animals. Sorry, dude.
Like nothing. There's two types of tigers, and you gave me a frog. Couldn't even be a lion. Like, let's just do offshoot of tiger.
Yeah, Naruto just hadn't come out yet.
Yeah.
Well,
Go
I liked Ivan Ooze in the way that he.
We really didn't talk about him at all.
No, he didn't.
Perfect.
But I liked.
Fuck him.
I liked his character in the way that he's just like this old guy that just got his like youth back or whatnot.
Sure. Yeah, he
So it
got
has
his
all
groove
these
back.
old,
Yeah.
old man sensibilities, and I just liked it. Like when the Rocky, the Red Ranger, tries to talk back to him, he's like, "Gee, a teenager with a big mouth. Not much has changed in 6,000 years." I'm like, oh, he's such an old guy. who's-
Granted, if 6,000 years ago, he wouldn't have been a teenager. He would have been a very old man about to die.
Hey, what?
Making a joke about how 6,000 years ago, he would have been dead at 30. So
Oh,
an 18-year-old would be a rather old dude.
yeah, I guess
Not
so.
a teenager.
But even so, like everything that he says generally is just like old man quotes.
Oh, yeah, he's basically just, get off my lawn.
This is my time to shine.
That and when he says, I smell teenagers. I was like, Nirvana should just kick in right now.
I was hoping he was going to go, it smells like teen spirit.
And then a bunch of cheerleaders come out who looks like drug addicts.
I totally had that exact same thought. It was great.
John?
So it's kind of an Ivan Ooze Goldar combo. He's talking about the Pink Ranger coming in to save the day, and he's like, "Oh, here comes that cute Pink Ranger to the rescue." And then Goldar goes, "So you think she's cute too?" So good. And it's
so many throwaway lines.
It's a moment like that where, having not been familiar, I'm like, "Oh, okay, this is funny." Like this gives context to a character.
The
like
quibs in this movie are actually probably the best part of the movie.
But it's all from Goldar and the Pig. Like, those are like, I wanted a movie with those guys because those guys were hilarious.
I really did not care about the pig.
I hate that pig.
Could we have Goldar hanging out with
Babu?
No.
Babu?
Bulk and Skull. Like I think we
talk
could
about them. They're so good. But
like if we just
They're
had,
always good though.
like how we have the superhero cafe and the supervillain pub or whatnot on the internet. If we could just have Bulk and Skull and Goldar hanging out and talking about what it's like to be them,
it's a road
I'd
trip.
watch that.
Road trip
I'd
movie.
watch that.
I'd
so
watch
much.
that road trip movie in a heartbeat. Ryan, what's your favorite quip you have written down?
I think I don't know if we were recording earlier, but I dropped it. Is the pig when Ivan Oozes come back and he goes, "I could do that. I just choose not to."
That's a great one.
In that road trip movie, in my head, there's definitely a scene where they all go, "Whoa!"
I had another. Did you go yet?
Yeah, I went.
Another good quote from the Power Rangers. I think it was Billy. I forget what he does. Punches someone in the air or something. Elevator going up. Elevator coming down. Talk about a splitting headache. It's like he couldn't even decide which quip to use, so he used both.
All of the quips, all of them.
If you rapid fire all of them, one will land.
That's right.
It's a joke a second.
Yeah.
Someone will laugh.
Okay, so review system for today, because we didn't do one last time, or we're not doing one next week. I still can't remember which one comes up first. 90s property. Any 90s property to review this film. So I'm going to go first because no one's going to use mine. I'm going for Big Bad Beetleborgs.
No clue what that even is.
Well, it's a show from the 90s.
Again, no friends.
Right.
Much like Power Rangers, it's a group of kids who get power suits who can go and fight bad guys. The problem with this one that really kind of links to the Power Ranger movie was I'm watching this one going, so you're just cashing in on Power Rangers, but you don't get it at all. And that's what that movie, or that's what that show was. And if you haven't seen it, oh my God, check out Big Bad Beetleborgs. It has one of the greatest theme songs ever, other than VR Troopers, which also has a really good theme song. We
forgot about that.
We are VR.
And that's going to be in my head the rest of the day. Thank you. Because I never even watched that show, but I do remember the theme song.
We are VR.
I was thinking the other day, totally off topic while everyone comes up with the reviews, how out of place the term VR is in 2017, that, it's all coming back and we're using this like 1980s digital boy, idea.
I also love VR Troopers. Man, that show is a fucking mess, though.
Oh, Lord.
Why are they VR? They're just wearing suits. Nothing about this is virtual reality.
I'm going to drive it home with just the new Ghostbusters because it hit a lot of parallels with like, they really kind of missed what we loved about the original source material, and they kind of fucked up with the CG because we loved the practical effects.
Technically not a 90s property, but I'll let it slide.
It was,
it was an 80s property and then 2000s.
it was well alive in the 90s.
Sure.
Like the real
Okay.
Ghostbusters,
Yeah,
the
okay.
sequels.
Yeah, there's the
Okay.
cartoon series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got mine. I'm not sure if I've used it before, but a property that's trying to eat off another property. Street Sharks.
Oh, I forgot about that too.
Thing is, I did watch Street Sharks.
Oh, they were the best.
No, they weren't. It was terrible.
Remember,
But-
I was 3 when Power Rangers.
I mean, Vin Diesel supports them, so I support them.
Have you guys seen
God,
that
that
video?
commercial.
It's the best.
That leather vest without a shirt. But yeah, Street Sharks. It's something I remember. That
You can just stop there. That's great. Street Sharks,
the
it's
other 90s
something
thing
I
I
remember.
remember.
90s.
Dude,
It wouldn't have existed without the success of something else.
Ninja Turtles, but go ahead.
Nailed it.
Street Sharks were great when I watched them and had their toys. So Power Rangers to me is the kid version of Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Because, I mean, adaptation just didn't work. because I've talked to people that have read the books and they're like, this is just completely different.
Completely different. Although I think better.
Oh, Starship Troopers, the movie is great.
Yeah.
But just in terms of adaptation, missed the boat of what it actually was. Just big giant things where you're kind of just like, wait, that's a thing now, like a brain sucking thing, and like now Ivan Ooze can just go into his giant robot, like, you know, and there's kind of incoherent. Most people don't really matter except for like one or two people, and just kind of things happen.
Yeah, that's really spot on. All right, last but not least,
there were two of these cartoons around this time that came to be Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the one that had a story to it. It was the one that was more Wile E. Coyote, Roadrunner-esque. Minimal backgrounds, a chicken and a robot trying to, bumbly catch Sonic, and just a lot of just gags. Just gags and nothing else. And it missed what was, to me, cool about Sonic the Hedgehog in the comics and kind of the lore backstory. Because as you were with Power Rangers, I was kind of that way with Sonic the Hedgehog, because they built this whole world, this whole kind of fantasy setting with it.
Well, I read the books, I know.
Yeah, and so I was really into it at the time. But this series, and they always flipped back and forth between which one they showed, the one story-based one, which I loved, or this really cartoony gag one that I hated. But I liked Sonic, so I watched it every time.
Yep.
So I feel like this movie was kind of like, well, what? I mean, I love Sonic, but what?
Yeah,
but I'll watch
like,
it.
This makes no sense, but it's Power Rangers, so fuck it.
Right.
Okay, so with that, we're going to bring today's episode to a close. A really quick round of plugs. You can find us at athpod.com, ATH_podcast on Twitter, everywhere else, ATH Podcast. Find us on Facebook. Email us at athpodcast@gmail.com. Rate and review us on iTunes. That would be fantastic. We really appreciate that. Matt, what is your show again?
But That's Just My Opinion. You can find it on the But That's Just My Opinion network on But That's Just My Opinion. Follow the podcast on
if you
Twitter.
Need a new mattress.
Follow the podcast on Twitter. Damn it. Lost my place.
You are the best at promoting your show.
Oh, I'm
Follow
so
the thing
good.
I do.
I do stuff. Just look it up. On Twitter at BTJMOpod, Facebook.com/BTJMOpod. It's a mouthful. And if you want to email me, but that's just my opinion pod@gmail.com. It's a lengthy one.
It is. That's a long email address.
Yeah, I regret it. Should have just made it BTJMOpod@gmail.com.
You can always do that.
Yeah.
Forward them together.
Yeah.
Gmail's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I already got stuff I log in with the other one.
You'll be fine. So
much work.
So next week, be sure to tune in on either our Beauty and the Beast episode or our anime battle, depending on how these come out. Because again, I don't remember.
You should just do both versions.
Yeah. Nah, I'm good.
And leave them both in.
Yeah. So the anime battle, I'm really excited for. I don't have a guest lined up yet, but I'm working on it. I have someone that I'm pretty excited for, and then I have somebody that is rather regular on our show who will also be great. But it just depends on availability, and that's how these things go. So thank you again.
I already told you I don't watch anime.
It's definitely not you.
Thank God.
Nice.
So thank you again to everybody for coming out, and enjoy the Power Ranger movie, as I'm sure all of you are going to go see it, right? Right?
Oh, yeah.
I know I
A
will.
definite maybe.
I know you'll drag me to. No, I'm just kidding.
I will make anyone who's willing to go see it. That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
All right, bye.
Frogs!